Hey everyone, Chris Carter here of the Locked On Steelers podcast, here answering your questions on a bonus Sunday episode of the Locked On Steelers podcast. Heading into this Steelers-Texan matchup, we take your questions, leading off with Pat Freiermuth, getting him involved right here. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you all for listening to us every day because we're your team every day. Reminder, we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is the #1 sports podcasting network. And today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. All right, Steelers fans, I put a call out for you guys to give us calls here and give us your questions ahead of this playoff game. And oh boy, did you guys do that. You guys blew up my phone lines. We appreciate you. As always, you can call in with questions 412-223-6644. Leave your name, where you're from. Keep your question under a minute. And you guys certainly did that. And you kicked it off with a banger. We go to Deb from Florida, who asked the question that I've been pounding the table about. Where's Pat Freiermuth? Deb, take it away.
Hi, Chris. This is Deb, take two, first-time caller. I love your show. I watch you every single day. My question is regarding Freiermuth. I've almost needed to have a GoFundMe account for a new TV because of how many times they have not used him. And thankfully, they have been using him, and I think it's made a big difference in the games and that we win. Do you see them using them on Monday? Thanks a lot, and here we go, Steelers.
Thank you, Deb. Again, 412-223-6644. Leave your name, where you're from. Keep your question under a minute, just like Deb did there. Thank you, Deb, for your question. Deb, I'm right with you. Pat Freiermuth needs to be a big part of this game plan, particularly because this Texas defense, that's where you want to hit it. Attack their linebackers, attack their slot guys, attack their safeties, get them in mismatches because they're either too big or they're either too big or they're too slow. Either too slow or they're too small to keep up with Pat Freiermuth in the game. And I mean, on the year, the guy has the fourth most targets on the team. Get him involved, and he's tied for the fourth with Jonnu Smith. Get him involved, get him the ball, and I think he can do some serious damage, not just in how he gets open, but also in how he catches at the catch point, how he gets yards after the catch. He is a dangerous man, and to your point, when Pat Freiermuth gets involved, they do better. I mean, the times against the Browns that they moved the ball, it was involving him in the passing game. They got him involved against the Ravens in crucial moments. They helped win that. That helped them win that game. He made some big plays against the Dolphins, another game where they were able to win. Frankly, they didn't win the game, but the offense got going with him against the Bengals the first time when he caught 5 of 6 passes for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. Get him involved, but there have been too many games where he gets 0 targets, 1 target, 3 targets. This needs to be a 5 to 8 target game for Pat Freiermuth, and most of them need to come downfield, and they need to get him the ball a good bit there. And continuing on that, and we're gonna keep rolling with your questions here because again, we got a lot of them. I can't get to all of them in this bonus episode. We're gonna get to as many of them as I can. But Joe from Long Island talked about throwing the ball downfield. I think that's a huge part of this game is taking the shots, as I've explained before. But Joe from Long Island, New York, I think he kind of gets into it as well here with his question.
Hey, good morning, Chris. This is Joe from Long Island, New York. Loving everything you're doing, and I'm loving that we're in the playoffs. I just want to ask you, with this team plays super tight coverage on defense, the Texans. Now, I'm thinking we should send guys deep early so that the backs are turned to the defense, and then let Aaron throw to Gainwell, throw to Jalen, and let those jitterbugs get loose and force them to play us in zone, or force us to, force them to try to take away the deep ball. Anyway, I wanted to hear what you guys say about it. Love the show. Talk to you guys later. Have a great week.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate your question. Appreciate all your questions. Again, 412-223-6644. Leave your name, where you're from. Keep your question under a minute. Joe, I'm right with you. This Texas defense ranks high in a lot of respects when it comes to total points, when it comes to total yard. They're the number 2 in points allowed. They're number 1 in yards allowed. And they do a lot of things well. They bring heat with their pass rush. But the one thing that they really struggle with, they are next to last in third and long defense. They are 18th in explosive pass rate allowed. And when I looked up their numbers in defending the deep ball, they rank in the bottom half of the league, 19th and 21st when it comes to receptions and yards allowed on deep targets. They've also given up 5 touchdowns, which is tied for 17th in the league. This is a chance for Aaron Rodgers to use DK Metcalf, use Pat Freiermuth, heck, use Calvin Austin, use anybody that can win deep and attack these guys. This defense is going to be preying on what the Steelers did for most of this season, and that's to check it down, get it to Kenneth Gainwell, get it to Jalen Warren, and don't avoid those things. Absolutely use those things, but do so after you've shown them, we can and will hurt you with this deep ball, because we've got the players, and you may not think it, but Aaron Rodgers is ready to whip this ball deep down the field and get things going. That's the version of this Steelers offense that I think can be there to hurt this Texans defense. I do think it's there to be had, and part of it though is dealing with that pass rush. And Jeff from Colorado had a good question on that pass rush, and to answer his question, I'm going to go to a player who I talked to this week about it. But first, Jeff from Colorado on Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter of the Texans pass rush.
Hey, Chris. Jeff in Colorado. Hope you're having a great day. Just had a couple of things that I thought you might be able to discuss on the show. Number one, what an exciting matchup here. I think as everything comes together, we are looking at probably the biggest matchup being Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson against our offensive line. It feels like our O-line has really been playing well this year, towards the end of the season especially. I'm curious what your thoughts are on how we might fare against those edge rushers. The other thing is I can't help but draw some comps to the 2005 season where we had to win and get into the playoffs, and we're the underdogs the whole time and ended up winning the Super Bowl as the 6th seed. I kind of get the vibes of the same heart and effort from the team right now, where nobody believes in us but ourselves. And I know that we play well as home underdogs. So wondering if you saw some of those similarities as well, if that was something you might discuss. Thanks for taking the call, and go Steelers.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you there. And like I said, Dylan Cook talked about those guys, and I'll get to the 2005 part of that question, but I want you to listen to Dylan Cook when I asked him about what these pass rushers do that the Steelers have to be mindful of. He gave a very thoughtful answer, and I think there's for a guy who's the 4th string left tackle, he seems very mindful of what the Steelers need to do and locked in. I asked him this, I think maybe even on Monday in the Steelers locker room. But again, here's Dylan Cook, Steelers left tackle, on those guys.
What are the biggest tools that you have to watch out for from either Hunter, or Anderson? Both of them just present major threats.
It's more so their change-ups. Like, we all know they're kind of power guys, but they both have really good spin moves. They both have really good motors, good hand usage. So the fastballs are obviously dynamic and obviously powerful, but the change-ups are really good for them.
How do you, Mike said that they don't split the atoms, meaning like they don't get too crazy and creative, but what communication things do you guys have to watch out for that they do well that can force breakdowns?
Just little nuances from their D-line, foot stance switches and stuff like that, alignment, stuff like that.
I think that's the thing here. And when I say when Mike Tomlin said split the atom, basically saying like they're not trying to run, triple cut disguises to hide where their guys are. They're lining up and they're coming to get you because they're saying you can't stop them. And when it comes to, the fastball to change ups that he's talking about here, of course, making a baseball reference there, he's talking about like, hey, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, they can whip a lot of guys without the extra spin move or the finesse play. They can overpower you. They can beat you off the ball because they're explosive, but you got to be locked in for both. And the fact that these guys are locked in for both tells me they not only have plans for themselves individually, but plans collectively to help each other deal with them, because they have to know that's not going to be a single man job all game long. And just trying to make it a single man job could be the thing that puts you in trouble and gets your quarterback hit a lot in this game. The Steelers' offensive line has progressed all throughout the year. They've had their ups and their downs, but I'd say over the past month and a half, they've been generally projecting up. And heck, this Dylan Cook has now gone up against Aiden Hutchinson. He's gone up against Myles Garrett. He's gone up against some of the top-tier pass rushers. So, going up against these guys, it's not going to be easy, but it is something that I think that he's not punked by. This would be a lot different if this was his first start. But he's been starting for over a month now, and I think that this is a really good sign that he's as locked in as he is. And if he's locked in, say Amalu is next to him, Fautanu is on the other side along with McCormick, and of course, Zach Frazier is. And this offensive line that's been on an upward trajectory this year, this could be the key. And what did we say before this season even started? The biggest story wasn't going to be Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf, even though they're the stars, they're going to be huge. But the biggest story was, could this offensive line form its nucleus? And man, it seems like it really has. And if they can go out in this game and stymie this pass rush, give Aaron Rodgers time, and also get a run game going, that's going to be a big sign to me that what the Steelers are doing continues to work and work at a high level. It already worked to get them to the playoffs. The Ravens, they conquered that. They swept the Ravens out the playoffs. They've shown they're making the progress. But now it's to get to put the exclamation point on it. How much more progress have they made that we haven't even seen? That's a big part of this. We'll get to more of your questions here, including about the offensive coordinator search that could be coming if Arthur Smith were to move on with all the offensive minds that are now in the coaching carousel right now because of all the firings. We'll also talk about Dylan Cook and Broderick Jones, their future, defending against the deep ball, so much more here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I remind you, this show is brought to you by DripDrop. If you're kicking off the year feeling good is the goal, and honestly, hydration is the easiest win of all of them. When I stay on top of it, my energy, my focus, and mood are all leveled up. But let's be real, plain water doesn't always cut it, especially when you're grinding through long days, hitting the gym, or just trying to stay consistent with your health goals. That's where DripDrop comes in. Doctor-developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better. Think clearer focus, better energy, elevated mood, even that fresh skin glow. I love that it uses a precise ratio of electrolytes and glucose for rapid absorption because it delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading sports drinks. DripDrop's science-based formula is trusted by firefighters, medical professionals, and over 90% of top college and pro teams because it rehydrates you faster and more efficiently than water alone. They have flexible subscription options, so you're never stuck without it, whether you're hitting the gym, juggling work, or just staying consistent with your goals. Right now, DripDrop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to DripDrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's DripDrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 20% off. Stock up now at DripDrop.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. This episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting your new routine or jumping into player projections for the first time, trying something new can feel like a challenge, but with Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure football matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never slows down, and Prize Picks lets you stay in control. Prize Picks is the daily fantasy app that makes watching sports even more exciting by letting you build lineups based on player projections. No drafts, no waiting, just pick more or less and play your way. Getting started on Prize Picks was quick and simple. The app is super easy to navigate. It makes watching games more engaging, especially when following individual player performances. I love the flexibility of options like Flex Play, where you can get paid even if one pick misses. The early payout feature is a great bonus. When your lineup starts strong, you may get the option to cash out early. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL. You get $50 in lineups after your first play, $5 play. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter here on a solo show with this bonus episode where we're answering a lot of your questions from the Locked On Steelers call-in line. Again, it's 412-223-6644. Leave your name, where you're from. Keep your question under a minute. We try to get your answers on the show. We continue question. This one's from Josh in Downingtown, asking about one thing, the offensive coordinator future and the offensive tackle question. Take it away, Josh.
Hey, Chris. This is Josh calling from Downingtown, PA. Wanted to get your take on, no matter what happens with the Steelers in the playoffs, win or lose, go all the way, lose first round, I wanted to see what you think a good offseason look like. I think, given that Arthur Smith is probably going to the Titans, I think a good offseason would be signing Mike McDaniel from the Dolphins. I think he's a good offensive coordinator. I would either A, draft a wide receiver in the first round or trade for a wide receiver. And if you don't if you don't draft one, I would draft a left tackle in the first round, and then move Broderick Jones inside. I want to get your take on what your good off season would be, and if the items I just listed you think would be a good idea. Love the show. Been listening all season long. Here we go, Steelers. See ya.
There you go, Josh. Thank you for calling with your question. Again, it's 412-223-6644. Leave your name, where you're from. Keep your question under a minute. Josh, so getting into a few things here. One, Arthur Smith's not definitely gone. There's a chance, maybe, possibly. But I think if Aaron Rodgers says, I want to do one more year, Arthur Smith might be like, maybe I do too. But if the Titans do come with a full head coaching job offer, yeah, he probably is gone. But it's not a guarantee that that's going to happen. As far as Mike McDaniel, that'd be an interesting proposition if Mike McDaniel was brought in. I think that he certainly has some good offensive schematics. I think that the head coaching thing definitely didn't work for him, but maybe OC can. But I'd also want to explore the field because there's other guys like Kevin Stefanski still out there, at least as of right now. And there's other guys that are maybe younger or different position coaches that are waiting for their first shot to be the next wonderkin of the offensive coordinator realm. But certainly I wouldn't turn away McDaniel. As first on the first round pick thing, I wide receiver is absolutely on the radar. Left tackle is not, particularly because of the two guys that I put on screen in that for that slide and for that call, Dylan Cook and Broderick Jones. Dylan Cook's playing at a pretty decent level right now. And if I'm the Steelers, I'm coming back into camp and saying, hey Cook, hey Jones, battle it out. And the loser got to take left guard or whatever. But I wouldn't draft left tackle just yet. I think that honestly, with the way that the defensive line is played, with the offensive line is played, first round pick should be at a playmaking position: corner, wide receiver, safety. If quarterback is you're able to trade and get the quarterback that you really, really want, we'll get to that conversation someday. Trust me, it's a whole lot there. I think that's not where I'm looking right now. I'm looking at the playmaker positions. I'm not looking at tackle. I do think D tackle could still be a second or third round pick in this draft class, simply because I do think the Steelers need to continue to prepare for the future absence of Cam Hayward. I think Derek Harmon's doing a great job. Y.A. Black's progressing well. Keanu Benton's playing well, but I think they need to still have another dog in the room when it comes to that. But again, I think that they're that's a second or third round priority versus first. But again, offensive tackle, I'm not giving up on Broderick Jones and Dylan Cook just yet. I think that Dylan Cook, he's a restricted free agent, so you can bring him back for not paying him too much. And Broderick Jones still got another year. I might even consider giving him his fifth year option just to say, hey, your 1 year that you were at left tackle, you were pretty decent before you got hurt. So let's see how you continue to build with that. But yeah, I wouldn't make that a first round pick here. But we got a lot more questions to get to. Michael from Concord, California, about protecting against the deep ball. Take it away, Mike.
Hey, Chris. This is Michael from Concord, California. Got a question about our matchup with the Texans. I'm really wondering, what do you think the defensive game plan is going to be to make sure that Houston doesn't take the top off our defense? I know we had some issues with Baltimore with Zay Flowers getting open deep. I know there was some breakdown there. Are we thinking that we need to sit back more people, make sure we don't take the top off because their rushing attack is not the most threatening? Or are we really prioritizing getting that pressure, making C.J. Stroud uncomfortable, hoping to get some errors there? Really looking, hopefully, for some kind of strip sack. I think that's going to be one of those key difference makers that could swing this game in Steelers' favors. Really interested to hear what you think. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you for your question, Michael, and one of our many callers that calls in. Again, 412-223-6644. Leave your name, where you're from. Keep your question under a minute. I do think this is a game where the Steelers don't need to oversell to stop the Texans' run. And they need to not underestimate it either. The defensive front needs to whoop some people up front. But I think they can whoop this Texans offensive line. Because I do think that 2 years ago, when these two teams played in 2023, that was something that happened. The Steelers' defensive line was not what it is now. Derek Harmon playing at a much higher level. Cam Hayward still being Mr. Cam Hayward. Keanu Benton playing much better than he did in what was his rookie season. There's a lot more answers there. Y.A. Black. Also, look out Isaiah Loudermilk. He's questionable for this game, and he's been on injured reserve. I would not be shocked if he jumps in this game, or if he doesn't, he'll be in the next game. But again, you don't need him to be started. You need to be the fifth option, basically, for this defensive front. But I think they're better suited to handle that. And because they're better suited to handle that, I like this secondary going up against these guys. I don't think they need to oversell to stop the run. They can back off. They can focus more on that. And if they do, I think they're ready to handle what the Texans bring as far as a passing attack, keeping the top over the plays, and being mindful of how the Texans try to loosen guys up, and particularly because Mr. Joey Porter, who, by the way, I think was completely disrespected and snubbed when he didn't get a single All-Pro vote, despite not allowing a single touchdown for a second year in a row. His passer rating allowed, I think, was under 60 points this year. He's one of the best cornerbacks for sure by so many metrics, but he's not focused on that. He's focused on how to stop this Texans team. Here was Joey Porter Jr. when I talked to him Saturday in the Steelers locker room.
What do the Texans do to try to mix things up and get guys open downfield for CJ?
That's a good question. They do a lot of motions. They do a lot of motions with 13, trying to get him open on the little option routes, get 12 open on the overs, might, sneak him in bunches and stuff like that. I ain't trying to give up the game plan.
Right.
That's what they mainly do really to get those guys open.
How do you guys communicate to be better in those situations where not just the Texans but general teams try to use motion to get you off balance?
Just repetition and just staying focused on our main rules and everybody being on the same page. We've been saying communication is the biggest thing all year, so just staying on top of that and locking in with the guys. That's the main thing that's really going to help us get this victory.
This is why I really appreciate Joey Porter Jr., because you could tell he was like, I'm going to answer this in a way that doesn't expose what we're focusing on too much, but I'm going to, give an answer here so that when fans listen to Chris Carter's podcast, that we gave him something. And he did. And I think there's something there to note about how the Texans try to get them off balance, because I think that's what the Texans did to them 2 years ago a lot. They cut that secondary was Joey Porter's rookie year, and I think that was a couple weeks before he made his first start. But I do think that there's something there for the Steelers defense to cover. I think that they're ready they're ready for what the Texans are trying to do. A lot of rollouts, a lot of play action, getting CJ Stroud on the move, a lot of things to protect him from pressure. They have to be ready for that element of this game. They have to be ready to get after CJ Stroud and make him uncomfortable. That's a big part of this game, in my opinion. We're going to take a quick break. We come back, more of your questions and more locker room talk. Kenneth Gainwell also going to be involved in a little bit here. That's all here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I'll remind you this show is also brought to you by Betterhelp. The new year doesn't require a new you, but maybe just a less burdened you. We all carry things that weigh us down or hold us back, and therapy can help you identify what those things are by offering an unbiased perspective to better understand your relationships, motivations, and emotions. That's where BetterHelp comes in. It makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist who can help you work through what's holding you back. All BetterHelp therapists are fully licensed in the U.S. and work according to a strict code of conduct. BetterHelp makes the first step easier by connecting you with a licensed therapist online from wherever you are. They do the matching work for you. A short questionnaire identifies your needs and preferences, and with over 12 years of experience, they typically get it right on the first time. But if you're not happy with your match, you can switch to a different therapist at any time. With over 30,000 therapists and an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 stars, based on over 1.7 million client reviews, BetterHelp has served over 5 million people globally, and it works. Sign up and get a 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedon. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched with an online qualified therapist. Again, get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. We're also brought to you by Game Time. The NFL season is in full swing, and there's nothing like being at the game. The crowd noise, the energy, the cheering alongside other fans. Watching at home is great, but being in the stadium it hits different. Trust me, it did. If you were in that Steelers-Ravens game, and this playoff game is going to be nuts. It's the first time that fans can attend a Steelers home playoff game since 2018. The frustrating part has always been getting tickets, though. You're waiting in queues, dealing with logins, watching prices change right at checkout. That's why the Game Time app gives you the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NFL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. You can pull up the Game Time app, check out the upcoming NFL games like the Steelers finale, like the Steelers playoff game against the Texans on Monday Night Football. The app is incredibly intuitive. Browsing, comparing, and buying tickets takes just minutes. The zone deals are a feature that help you save money while finding great seats. You pick pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save even more. And every time you buy with Game Time, fees are included up front. So the price you see is exactly what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today and get back to being there live. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter continuing our episode here. We got more questions from you. This one from Rahil in DC about something that CJ Stroud said a while back that I don't think weighs too much, but it was kind of interesting what he said about Aaron Rodgers then and what he says about Aaron Rodgers now. But here's Rahil from DC.
Chris, love your work. I'm Rahil in DC. Hey, I have a comment because I haven't heard this from anyone. About a year ago, CJ Stroud was in an interview in a podcast stating that Aaron Rodgers wasn't that he was good, but there were so many people he would take ahead of him. I want you, because you post questions all the time, to poke the bear and send it off to Aaron and remind him nothing is better than having a player like that been told that basically he was third or fourth in somebody's list. And this is CJ Stroud, Texans quarterback, saying that about our quarterback. Please pose that question. Enjoy your show. Listen to you all the time. I'm actually in political media in DC, so I do the opposite of what you guys do the fun stuff. But have a great day and make sure you poke the bear. Have a good day.
Well, thank you, Rahil, for your questions. I really appreciate you. Appreciate your work in doing political media work. It's really important to today's time and age. I want to apologize, though, Rahil. I didn't get to ask Aaron Rodgers about that because I didn't hear your voicemail until after our one day we get with Aaron Rodgers, which this week was Thursday. It's always tight and everyone's trying to ask Aaron Rodgers questions. But I'll say this, because CJ Stroud was asked again about Aaron Rodgers recently. He expressed a lot of respect for him. But I went back and found the clip that you were mentioning, and he said Matt Stafford was better than Aaron Rodgers and other guys are better than Aaron Rodgers. But here's the thing about Aaron. I think he's seen it. I think that he knows. I don't think he wants to let it be known. Like, if I asked him out, he'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. But I think there's a part of him that he wants to throw a touchdown and like be up on CJ Stroud and look right at him and just be like, and just give him that little sense there. I think that Aaron Rodgers is absolutely that petty, especially with the jokes he still makes about the New York Jets. He clocks that kind of stuff. I think it's definitely a bit on his radar, and he'll probably will never admit to it because then it'll come off like, oh, look what how he paid attention to this young quarterbacks. Nah, he ain't trying to do all that. What he is trying to do, though, I think he is trying to focus in and win this game. But here's the thing. I think Aaron Rodgers has been really focused. He's not too focused on outside things. He's focused on what this team has, as is this whole team. And I think that's a really important part of this game. A big part of this game is going to be protecting him while the Steelers are also trying to execute their general game plan. And that involves chips, that involves extra protection. I got to Kenneth Gainwell to ask about that because he's very much part of that plan. And listen to how he talks about the Texans and what they're trying to do.
When you guys, this is a really good pass rush team that you guys got to worry about. And it's multiple guys that are really good off the edges. What do you guys have to be mindful of in helping protect Aaron, but also like being able to still be active as playmakers when it comes to like you and the tight ends?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things we have to do. We know they're a great pass rush up front, but at the same time, man, we can go by what we've been doing and just handle business on our part.
So I think that's the thing here. These guys are locked in, but here's the thing. You probably could hear a little bit of yelling during that in the background. These guys are also having fun. Like, these guys are talking. I talked to TJ about this. He's like, guys, we're enjoying this right now. Like, we're having fun. People enjoy each other. We know what we've been through. There's not a sense. These guys aren't uptight going into this game. They're loose, and that's what you want to be. Go back and watch America's Game documentary. The America's Game series is every Super Bowl champion. They review them and they go over their Super Bowls and stuff. And go back and watch the Super Bowl IX documentary when the Steelers played the Vikings, and you'll see them talk about like how like Chuck Noll made it a point when they got to New Orleans that week. They let them go out and go crazy the first night, and guys got drunk. They got crazy. And when they came to practice the next day, they were like, okay, we got all the New Orleans out of our system. And they said the rest of the week, they were just loose. They were ready to go. They were excited. And when they got to the game, the way Bud Grant coached the Vikings, they were so locked in and they were so tightened up and they were unperturbed. They were just so focused and but they couldn't get out of their own way. And the Steelers played looser. They played better and they won that Super Bowl. And that was how they won several of their 4 Super Bowls they won in 6 years in the 70s. I'm not saying that this team is the 70s team. I'm not saying that this team is the 2005 team like our earlier call. I think Josh brought that up. I am saying that this team is loose but focused and ready to go, and they know what tasks they need to accomplish. They've been through some wars. They've been through some battles, and I think that that's going to help them in this game. Last question coming from our man James in Mississippi on to Sean Elliott situation.
Yeah, this is James Lawrence from Morris Point, Mississippi. I was wondering what my boy Deshaun, the defensive back, was going to be playing in the playoff game. If you will, just give me a shout out. Thank you. Have a blessed day. Oh, yeah.
So there you go. Thank you, James, for your question. Again, 412-223-6644. So to be clear, Sean Elliott, is not playing in this game. He didn't practice this week, but Isaiah Loudermilk did, and he could come back. Now, Sean Elliott is at least around the team. There's video out there from practice with him kind of being in a sort of coaching role for the safeties. So Elliott might be in a situation where if this team makes the Super Bowl, maybe that's his window. But remember, earlier this season, he suffered an injury that was thought to maybe end his season. He was able to fight his way back and came back. And then he suffered another injury that basically did end his season. But if the Steelers get to the Super Bowl, that might be his ticket to come back. That might be the timetable. But I wouldn't expect that to happen anytime soon, though he is a dog. And this team does miss him because he was a heck of a playmaker when he was out there. But again, Isaiah Loudermilk, that guy might be back this week. And if they win, I think you probably should expect him to play next week. And again, it's not that he's a game changer by himself, but he can be another good depth piece on the defensive line, and he'll have fresh legs considering he's been resting all year. But we hope you've enjoyed this bonus episode of the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, wherever you get social media handles. @CarterCritiques is always my handle. You can also read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette by going to post-gazette.com. Subscribe to there. Get all my written work. You can also find me here every day, Monday through Friday, on the Locked On Steelers podcast, on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this channel to get all of our daily episodes and some of our bonus content like this episode. We got Jenna Harner coming on the Monday episode. We'll give you our predictions then on Steelers Texans, getting you ready for Monday Night Football. Keep it here with the Locked On Steelers podcast.